Monsignor. So that's, you know, a date. It's amazing that they actually know the date and noted it. But then tomorrow we're in for another one. It's the anniversary, March 18th, 1314, when Jacques Molay was burned, one of the, well, the Grand Master of the Templar Order. So it's curious that, you know, these dates are there right in our meetings in the middle of them. Because we know from our anthroposophical studies that the Cathars were a stream that had started with as a Manichaean stream and continued through. And of course the Templars were an order that Steiner had things to say about in terms of the impulses they brought. So that's worth noting.
And today's St. Patrick's Day.
And today's St. Oh gosh. Now that celebrates the death of St. Patrick. Most saints are commemorated by the date of the death, but the Church recognizes them as birth into this heaven day. So they're really celebrated as birthdays, curiously enough. One of the few exceptions will be in June, St. John's Day. That really does commemorate his birthday on earth. That's not a death day. And there are two other days that are devoted, feast days devoted to John. There's the beheading day, and then I think the baptism is also a feast day for 12. It's curious, he has 3. So that's special. I did bring along this, anyone is free to look at it if you want to remind yourself what some of these constellations look like. So it's up here just for reference.
Yeah, I have looked at that.
Yeah. Well, by now you know that I can't resist starting off with a joke. And it was Mary in her talk last night when she referred to Jonah the whale that I realized that's the joke I have to use this morning. So this is from a website called Clean Christian Jokes. You know what that tells us. There must be another website, Dirty. I didn't look at that one, but I checked that out. So there's one, you know, a Jonah joke in there, and I'll kind of have to glance at the text here. There was a little girl, and she was talking to her teacher about whales. And the teacher said it was physically impossible for a whale to swallow a human, because even though they're a very large mammal, their throat was very small. Now the little girl stated that Jonah was swallowed by a whale. The teacher reiterated, a whale could not swallow a human. It was impossible. The little girl said, well, when I get to heaven, I'm going to ask Jonah. The teacher asked, what if Jonah went to hell? The little girl replied, then you ask him. Works every time, Mary.
I'm glad I could set you up.
Since an awful lot of teachers are here together, I guess you'll appreciate this one. This isn't a Jonah joke, but it's a good one. I need a prop here. It was a kindergarten teacher. Now, I don't know who cooked up this joke that it was a kindergarten level, but we'll go along with it. A kindergarten teacher was supervising her class as they were drawing pictures. She wandered about the room looking at the pictures they were drawing and complimenting them. All the kids would look up at her and smile, and they were eager to show their artwork to the teacher and whatnot. She came across one little girl who didn't look up, but instead kept coloring busily. And the teacher asked, what are you drawing? I'm drawing God. answered the little girl, still not looking up. But no one knows what God looks like. They will in a sec. Oh well, let's get rid of that. The other thing, because I've done this so many times and you know me for it, is you have to have something of poetry. So I have one here that I discovered very recently. On February 1st, a very well-known Polish poet died, Wisława Szymborska. She died on February 1st. She was the ripe age of 88. And she was a very private person. But she did get a Nobel Prize in 1996, I think it was, for literature. It was a literary prize. And this poem I wanted to share as an opener. You wonder, well, gosh, what's that got to do with the calendar of the soul, what we're doing, stars and so forth. But I think it gets to a certain point where it comes to us. The title of the poem is Nothing is a Gift. And you have to realize she grew up in communist Poland and for a while embraced communism, thought it would be great, and then became quite disillusioned. Her picture is here. And this is somebody you don't say no to. Sure. You can look at that. Nothing's a gift. It's all on loan. I'm drowning in debts up to my ears. I have to pay for myself with myself. Give up my life for my life. Here's how it's arranged. The heart can be repossessed, the liver too, and each single finger and toe. Too late to tear up the terms. My debts will be repaid, and I'll be fleeced, or more precisely, flayed. I move about the planet in a crush of other debtors. Some are saddled with the burden of paying off their wings. Others must willy-nilly account for every leaf. Every tissue in us lies on the debit side. Not a tentacle or tendril is for keeps. The inventory, infinitely detailed, implies we'll be left not just empty-handed, but handless too. I can't remember when, where, and why I let somebody open this account in my name. We call the protest against this the soul. And it's the only item not included on the list. So you can see through how this buildup is, it gets to a certain point. And she actually wants to define the soul. We call the protest against this the soul. Love that, don't you? Well, she was a character, and she had a sense of humor, which I just can't resist sharing with you. Her humor was mischievous. The lavatory seat in her Krakow flat was made of barbed wire, encased in clear plastic. Now talk about waking up. Asked why she had published so little, her entire canon is some 400 poems. She replied gently that she had a waste paper basket. Loved it. Very modest, very modest. So at threefold, we're thinking of getting new toilet seats. You imagine? Oh well. I'm supposed to be talking about rhythms. And just as a reminder, Mary, may I?
You may.
I'll do it in curves
Is that right?
Poor Mary doesn't know how irreverent I can be. That's all right. If we're going to talk a little bit, just as a hint about rhythms, just remember, I'm going to mention 4. There's so many rhythms just surrounding us all the time, right? But we do have the rhythm of the physical body, and we have the rhythm of the etheric body, or life body. Mention life here as well. We have the rhythm of, you know what's next, the astral body, and the rhythm of the ego. Now, I've probably presented this before, or you've heard of this before. What is the rhythm, do you think, of the physical body in terms of the time span? I think the year. So here we have to go through the whole year to complete one of the rhythms of the physical body. And just to mention, why a whole year? Well, it doesn't apply today so much, but it did at a time when you had to go through the whole year to go through the full diet. Because at different times of the year, different foods available. That's just one indication. Well, it takes a whole year to go through the whole diet. Now you can go through your whole yearly diet in a day. It says all the foods for all the day. So this rhythm, just another example of how in our modern life, rhythms are getting quite interfered with and not paid attention to. What is the rhythm of the life body? The month. Women relate to this much more than men, but here we have that. And the astral rhythm is the one with the calendar of the soul. So we have the 7 days of the week. And of course that leaves what left for the ego? The day and night rhythm. So you have day-night. To think that the ego goes through a rhythm from data is interesting. What we need to alert ourselves to is our meditative life, to get it in tune and rhythm with this. Well, with the calendar of the soul being a weekly 7-day rhythm, we have the calendar of the soul to work with. But what about the other rhythms? What examples can we give for using, say, a monthly rhythm? Well, from say, what Steiner gave left for us. We'll pass them out. I don't know that we'll have time to go through the work with it, but we'll see with Mary here. You have the virtue. There are folks that know about this, but that is a monthly thing in connection with the zodiac signs. And I have a list of how to match it. Steiner took this over really from the Theosophists. The notion of the virtues in each of the zodiac signs was known, but he did an enhancement. What could you use as a meditation for the whole year? Well, in your daily, we're talking about doing something daily here. You don't just do the virtues once a month, you do them you're mindful of what virtue you're in, you're mindful every week of a certain virtue. Well, you could use, I do, is the Lord's Prayer. That follows the whole year. But you can use that all year long, every day. Lord's Prayer. And somebody at a conference said we could also use the Mount Foundation Stone mantra as a whole year thing too. I don't do that, but that doesn't mean it couldn't work. The Lord's Prayer, from the 3 or 4 lectures that are out there on it by Steiner, is so rich, and it goes through so many aspects of human development, our spiritual path, that it's just all-inclusive. And I like to point out that that part where it gives us this day, our daily bread, applies to the physical. Then you get to forgive the trespasses. Anything that relates to our life body is something we get from others, and they get from us. So you have to have this notion of forgive us our trespasses. Well, in order to live, we have to take. As we forgive those who trespass against us. It's this give and take, because it's not ours. That's what our poem was just about. It's nothing that keeps us alive here on earth is ours. Astral, well, the weekly rhythm, I mean, the astral is a weekly rhythm of the astral body. It just is. The 7 days, Mary could go into all kinds of things with the planets and so forth, connecting all that. Then day-night. So we have the calendar verses to use here. But what about day-night? Well, we have a rich collection from Steiner of verses that you can use before going to sleep at night and when you just wake up in the morning. And later in our second half of the morning, I'll give you a poem which connects with this too, because we're supposed to be talking about something about the ego. So I figured, well, we'll do that. And what you do is to go through the material that Steiner gave and choose something that works for you, that speaks to you. I mean, people can suggest things to you. Maybe that's fine. Steiner, I mean, people went to Steiner and plagued him, give me a verse, give me a meditation. He would. Tailored just for them. Maybe just a few lines. And these are collected too. They weren't meant for particular individuals. So you can be pretty busy just in these 4 areas with a morning and evening meditation, calendar verse, mindfulness of the virtue, because that's a daily practice of Lord's Prayer. Now what I do is the Lord's Prayer, the verse here, and this night and morning, of course you have to do the morning verse. The Lord's Prayer and this I do in the evening. This I do in the morning, of course. Now I had an upbringing where my grandmother still lived next door to us, and she was a trained Waldorf teacher. She was also very German. So she would sit, my brother and me, on either side of the bed at night, tell us fairy tale. But she also, in German, taught me my first here. And even though it's designed for children, I actually still use it. Because finally, as I learned German in high school, I started understanding what it was she had taught me, because she was in German. And I still use it, because underneath the children's verse is actually the adult. And so it's amazing what she left for me, and that's precious. It really is. She probably knew. Waldorf teachers know what effect they have on those young children.